Hi, and welcome to the VR Gaming Podcast, a podcast and commentary about VR gaming, VR news, VR hardware, and VR reviews. I'm your host, Nick Lane, and with me is Justin Davis. Justin, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey Nick, same old thing, playing games.
Nice. We're going to get into the games you played last month. Usually you outpace me by about 5 times, so that should be interesting. But we've got a special guest with us today. It's my friend Brett Wallace, who is a fellow VR gamer, and Brett got into VR a little bit before me. But we're doing an episode which is going to be kind of a rhythm game roundup. I don't think I've ever reviewed any rhythm game other than Pistol Whip. And rhythm games are very prolific on VR. It's a good home for rhythm games. So we figured we'll just do this all in one episode. And I don't think, well, I've played rhythm games, and I know, Justin, you have. You and I aren't huge rhythm game guys, but I know I know Brett has spent a lot of time with them and really gets into them. So I'm happy to have him here. Brett, why don't you introduce yourself? Talk a little bit about your background, about your kind of your VR history, what games you like, your setup, etc.
Sure. Yeah, I've been in VR since 2016, kind of like an early adopter. Started out on a HTC Vive. Um, we had a local place here where I was introduced to it. It was a game on LAN, and that was the first time I'd experienced VR. And after about 2 sessions of that, I knew I had to get it for myself. So I ended up starting out with a Vive, room scale set up in my basement, and then I already had a racing cockpit from doing a lot of sim racing, so I adapted that to VR as well. Um, I play a lot of sim stuff. Pretty much most of my gameplay is two different categories, I would say. I mostly either play sims, racing, driving, flying, space flight, or rhythm games, mostly in the room scale setup. Um, I tend to be a little hardcore with this stuff. Both of my setups are fairly hardcore. Um, I got the full HOTAS setup on my cockpit. The nice direct drive steering wheel for the racing with the shifter and load cell pedals. It's a fairly sophisticated and expensive setup. Um, and then for downstairs, for the room scale, I got a pretty good size space. It's like 13 by 14 feet. And one of the things that I did is I added external speakers. I kind of experimented with it when Steam VR uh, gave us the ability to do mirroring audio. And then once they did that, I added external speakers to my setup, and I play exclusively on external speakers with rhythm games. So I've got a set of overhead speakers for the mids and the highs, and then a couple gigantic subwoofers with a hell of a lot of power, enough power to have the police called to my house if I wanted to turn it all the way up. But it helps me get into the rhythm games because I feel like when you're playing a rhythm game, I kind of want to feel like I'm in a club. So I want that visceral experience. So I like to play my rhythm games loud and get the inspiration to move from the loud music.
So I was over at, I've been over at your place several times because I know you from the pinball hobby. And one thing I appreciate about you is that you don't fuck around. When you do something, you do it to the max, which is awesome. I think last time I was over, you had the whole green screen setup. It's very nice. We did a video on Pistol Whip. It was shortly
Yep.
after Pistol Whip came out.
Yep.
So I haven't even seen the setup with the external like subwoofers. You got a bunch of like, what was it? The SVS, was it the 3000s?
Yeah, it started out with I originally started out with a pair of an old Cerwin Vega speakers. They were full range, and it did it kind of as a proof of concept just to see if it would work, to see if it was feasible. Did it sound okay? Could you still get some good directional cues from it? And it sounded okay. And then eventually I had a pair of bookshelf speakers that were just ceiling mounted. And then I moved to actual proper in ceiling type of speakers overhead. But I started out with the SVS subs. It's very difficult to get good bass response in my basement because it's basically a totally open space. So you're trying to fill a fairly large space. And I found that the SVSs were not enough to do that. So I stole the amps out of them and custom built some much larger subs with some enclosures I got off of Amazon and some Dayton Audio 18-inch uh, high-end subwoofers. Now I have gratuitous amounts of bass.
Dude, I can't even imagine. I've got an SVS sub, which I was just blown away by. It was like an 80-pound sub. I've got one of them, and it's just in kind of my home theater living room
Hmm.
setup, and
Yeah,
it's
I've
amazing.
seen
So
that.
I can't possibly imagine what your setup is like. Like it's got to be amazing, and I I look forward to the day when the pandemic's over and I can check it out.
Yeah.
I feel like I go over there though, and I just ruin my own experience because I'll be going back to the Index speakers, and it won't be the same. And then another thing I should bring up, speaking of Index speakers, I don't know if I would call you an audiophile, but you get into this stuff, and I remember that when you got the Index speakers, you kind of did this kind of comparison, right? You kind of tore them apart,
Yep.
you kind of checked
Yep.
other setups. So why don't you talk a little bit about that because that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I remember before the index even came out and they showed the picture of it, and I'm like, oh, I right from the get-go, I was like, that is going to be terrible for bass response, just because you're not going to get a good seal on your head. And I mean, I own personally 11 sets of headphones or earbuds. I'm a little bit over the top with that kind of stuff. So I'm very picky about my audio. I wouldn't say I'm an audiophile anymore. I would say I'm kind of a recovering audiophile. I try to suppress those tendencies as much as I can, but sometimes you just can't help it. Um, but yeah, so I did an experiment with the index speakers, and I had just basically a frequency sweep that I was running, and I compared it to all of my various sets of headphones, and I found that anything under 50 hertz on the valve index basically isn't there, at least for me. It may be different depending on head shape. From what I'm understanding, um, there is some dependency of your head and ear shape, how well those valve index speakers work for you. I can just say they do not work well for me. They sound great in the mids, like vocals, like people talking sounds amazing. It sounds perfect. But just the lack of bass response for rhythm games, especially, is kind of an immersion breaker for me.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, when you have these rhythm games, there are a lot of them. They're straight up bass heavy, right?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
Like these EDM tracks, right?
Hmm.
So how could the Index possibly compete with that? So on that, yeah, they're gonna falter. I get it. I can't, like I said, I can't wait to check it out. Thanks for that overview on that. So what is your go-to headset? The Index?
The Index is currently my only headset. I actually
Really?
ended up, I had a lot of headsets at one point. I think I had 7 headsets at one point. Um, I ended up getting rid of all of them. I started out with the Vive, and then I had for the sim setup, I ended up using just an original Rift CV1, and then I picked up a Quest, and then I picked up a Pimax 5K Plus. That was a mistake.
Which
Never
I
do
think
that.
I'm babysitting one of the Pi Maxes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't. I'm sure you haven't tried it, but it's a neat experience to see it. Um, and I feel like the software might be have improved since I last played with it. But yeah, but now then the Valve Index and really um, the Index does everything that I want in a headset, except I would like a little bit more field of view and maybe a little bit more resolution. But there isn't a headset out there right now less than $8,000 that gives me both improved resolution and improved field of view. Um, I think I forgot what it is, the X
Uh,
style and stuff like that, the ridiculous ones
yeah, but if you
that
get the
can do
X
more.
tall, it's going to be really heavy. That's the problem
Yeah,
with that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The X style and the other one, there was another one that was out that was also had similar issues.
Hmm.
But yeah, the Index is my daily driver at this point, and once I put base stations in both spaces, that's when I got rid of my Quest because I was like, well, I don't need the Quest anymore because that was all I was using it for was for the upstairs space. Yeah, so now it's the Index is pretty much exclusively until something better comes out. The Index is what I use.
Nice. Well, you're in the same club of me and Justin. So
Brett, I'm curious. Do you think the CV1 had the best bass?
Actually, here's this funny thing. Um, when I had the CV1, the first thing I did was remove those headphones and never used them.
Oh, okay.
I used when I had the Vive. My Vive came bundled with a wireless Bluetooth headset. It wasn't the best sound quality, but it had good bass response. Um, And then once the deluxe audio strap became a thing, I had that on my Vive. And that actually, honestly, better bass response on the deluxe audio strap than the Valve Index, in my opinion. I mean, at least according to the
Hmm.
measurements I took, it went a lot lower. I mean, it wasn't
Yeah.
the best fidelity quality wise,
Hmm.
especially in the mids and highs, but I don't know, for music, it was okay.
Hmm.
All right, man. Thanks for that overview, and I'm glad you can join us today. We're gonna your skills are really gonna come into play in your knowledge when we get to the rhythm games section.
Sure.
Let's transition over to the personal monthly recap. Oh, and before I forget, Brett, you posted in Discord some pictures of your setup. Do you remember in what channel it was? Is it like the hardware section?
Should be in the hardware section.
Okay.
Um,
So for those interested and just want to be part of the community, I've got a link now on the Twitter page for VR Gaming Podcast. You should be able to just get an invite to the Discord, and we actually just hit our 100th member today, so slowly growing. It's a nice little community, and Brett has some pictures of his setup, which is worth checking out for sure. All right, let's move over to the personal monthly recap. Justin, what games were you playing the last month?
Okay, in the last episode, we talked about Pagan Peak and we reviewed it, and we were both talking about like where we got in the game. And I said I thought I got to the end, and I played it a little bit more, and I was right. Yeah, I did get to the end where it was like a 50-50 choice, and so I made the other choice, and then I was like, oh, and then I beat it. So that's one thing I played. Then I played The Curious Tale of the Stolen Pets. It's kind of a kiddie-looking game, but I still thought it was fun. It's kind of you're just searching this really nice-looking, kind of like a diorama that you can spin around, and you're searching it for stuff like these hidden pets and stuff. It's a little puzzle game. I liked it. Then Down the Rabbit Hole is a puzzle game. Both of these were on sale, and there was a bundle that was a good deal. These two together. That was like an Alice in Wonderland themed puzzle game. I like that. Then Blast On. I don't know if you heard of that. It's a one-on-one shooting game. So it's sort of like Iron Lights, but it's with guns, and you have multiple guns, and you're just one on one trying to take out the other guy. The match could last only a couple minutes. I only saw it being like multiplayer. I didn't get to play against the computer. Then Mini Motor Racing X. I like that game a lot as a racing game, but there were a lot of different views you could do. Like first person, and then outside of the car, and then like it might have been like 8 or 10 different views. So you could have it look like RC Pro-Am. You could have it from like any vantage point you wanted. And I was having a lot of fun with that. And there were tons of tracks. So I recommend that game for sure. And then Outer Wilds, it's not a VR game, but somebody came out with a VR mod that has motion controller support. So Outer Wilds was on sale, and I bought that. And I was blown away, actually, by that. That game is really cool. You're flying around a solar system, just going planet to planet in your spaceship. And I've never played any game like it. And you're an alien trying to figure out what's going on in your solar system. There's a mystery that you're unraveling. It's sort of like No Man's Sky, but there's an actual story. And to me, it's way more interesting. But you need a really good PC to power that because it's really a performance hungry game. Then Thumper. I played Thumper because we're talking about rhythm games, and that's a rhythm game I wanted to mention. So that's about it.
Nice. So I'm intrigued. Where did you play Outer Wilds on? What platform is that on?
I played it on Index. You can play it on, I think, any PC headset.
Oh, is it not it's not a native VR game?
No, it's a regular flat
Gotcha.
game, and somebody
Oh,
came out with a free VR mod for it.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. All right.
So if you Google Outer Wilds VR mod, you'll find it.
Yeah, I did the challenging thing of trying to listen to you talk and also trying to Google at the same time, which
Oh, okay.
I do a poor job of both things when that happens. So.
Yeah, I have like 20 hours in that, and I'm still not close to beating it. And
Nice.
that's my kind of game.
The Blast On game, is that game new?
It's kind of new. Let me see. I can see really fast, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. Okay, yeah, interesting.
Let me see. October 8th. So it's not that new, but
Yeah, okay.
yeah, it's interesting, and you can play. I think you can play against friends one on one.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah.
I like the graphics on it. Looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it does look pretty cool.
All right. Brett, what about you? Games were you playing last month?
Last month, Pistol Whip came out with that new campaign, so I started playing that. I really like that. Feel like that really shows the potential of what more they can do with that game based, beyond what they'd already done before. So that's fun. Synth Riders have been playing a lot. I got the Noodle Manager installed, so now I discovered there's 800 plus custom tracks available for it. So I've been playing a lot of custom stuff and um, playing a lot of multiplayer Synth Riders because once you have all the custom songs, you can play multiplayer with custom songs, which is pretty cool. Beat Saber always trying to get better at Beat Saber, trying to beat any Camellia levels on expert, which I've had success. I finally beat one of them. Audica, which I only really started playing about 2 days ago. I kind of slept on that game for a while. I didn't think it looked fun in the videos that I watched other people play, but I actually like it. I actually spent quite a bit of time on it. Once I started playing, actually, that's all I've played since I bought it. Um, Vertigo Remastered, that's an old game, but they remastered it. It's kind of I don't know, kind of an RPG kind of game, kind of like a poor man's Half-Life Alyx, like kind of primitive, but cool. It's interesting. It's got some, this typical VR mechanics in it, but it's kind of fun. And then an attempt was made to play Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 in VR, and I will say only an attempt because a 2080 Ti is not quite enough GPU to really pull that off well, apparently. And
Yeah.
then and then 1976, which I saw from your list, Nick, like of games that you had, and I love that game. That game is really cool because I was always a fan of 1942, the arcade game, and 1976 is really fun. I like it a lot.
Yeah, that came from Justin's recommendation, right? Justin, you were playing that.
Yeah, did you see me in any of the leaderboards?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh,
I didn't really look at the leaderboards on it.
oh,
I saw you on the leaderboard.
about Microsoft Flight Simulator, I heard from some Flight Simulator guys that they use this. There's a new Steam VR setting that somehow helps with frame rates. I can't remember what it's called, but there's this new setting that in games like that are really demanding, it does something where even though it can't render that many frames, it makes it acceptable to play.
Yeah, there's been some motion smoothing, I think, is one of the settings. I haven't gone through and changed anything beyond the defaults that I had.
Okay.
I bought that game when it first came out, and it says I've got 11 hours on it. 11 hours of updates is what it is.
Wow.
Oh my
Um,
god.
so I haven't actually played it beyond that one attempt in VR, and I couldn't even manage 30 frames per second out of it. But I haven't tried beyond that initial session to tune my settings to make it more playable.
I wanted to ask you, Brett, because I remember when Star Wars came out.
hmm
What is that game even called now? I can't remember. It's been
Star Wars Squadrons.
Thank you. Star Wars Squadrons. You were into it. You played it
hmm
quite a bit.
Yep.
I'm curious to hear your 30-second thoughts on it on the game. 30 seconds to 1 minute thought on it.
I,
Update.
I enjoy the hell out of it. The only thing is that because of the fact that I always play on systems with speakers, I don't want to use a mic because I don't have, I'm out of bindings to actually have a push to talk button. So I don't like to play anything where I have to talk. And I don't have a good way to bind all the weird little wheels that they have for all the different emotes and do this, do that kind of thing. So I pretty much have been confined to playing either the single player campaign or going in dogfighting and just being disappointed with the fact that everybody sucks at dogfighting.
Gotcha.
Um,
And did you not have the performance issues, or did they not bother you when you played it?
I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it never really bothered me. It seemed to lock in at a solid 60 frames per second for me. I mean, it was with motion smoothing on 120 frames per second in the index. So it would be running effectively at 60. I mean, it seemed to run pretty, it didn't have any like massive frame drops, so a smooth 60 seemed okay with me.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Very nice. All right. So the last month I've been playing more walkabout mini golf, but the reason for that is I don't know if I remember this guy's last time, but somebody in our Discord took it to the next level and started up a league for the Discord. So it's funny when he was proposing the league, he's like, I think I'm going to come up with a league and I'm going to limit to 16 people, and everyone's like, dude, you're going to get more than 16 people. So we're at 26 people in this league. And it's been going great. We're in week 3 right now. It's this kind of match play style format. So Brett, it's modeled after Pinburg kind of scoring.
Nice.
So you have a group of 4 people, and if you come in first, you get 3 points. If you come in second, you get 2, third 1, and fourth 0. And that's how it is. And the groups are random, so I guess he's matching people up who haven't played before. It's not based on performance, so there's a different course every week. And it's competitive but casual, right? Nobody's too sweaty at that. There's all different skill levels, but it kind of gives you some skin in the game, and it's fun. It was free to join. I think he's got some prizes. It's a 9-week thing, so if that sounds intriguing to you, highly recommend checking it out. I'm sure he'll run it again, maybe after a cool down period after the 9 weeks is up. But it's been a big hit in our Discord, so. For those folks, this is another plug for the Discord to check it out and join us there. And if you're having trouble joining for some reason, if that link on Twitter is not working, I think I got it fixed now because it used to expire and I just set it to never expire. If you're having trouble, just reach out to me at vrgamingpodcast@gmail.com and I'll hook you up with an invite. So that's not a problem. So I've been playing that. That's a lot of fun. Still been playing a little Cookout. And again, I'm playing a lot of these games because I've had a lot of friends just get into VR. Martha just got into a Quest 2, Brett. So, these are games where people who just first get into it, these are great to play with them. It's not taxing. It's easy to understand. The controls are easy. And quite frankly, I like playing these games because they're not super hardcore. And I tend towards competitive hardcore games. And this is chilling me out a little bit. So
Yeah.
it's been good. Speaking of competitive and hardcore, Population 1 just started what they're calling Season 1. So just like in other things, Fortnite and other games who have gone to the season mode, the season started last Thursday. So it was the last week of February. Today's March 2nd. And it's going to go to sometime in early May. They have unlocks as you progress. So you get new skins and stuff like that. They have a season pass. I think the season pass it's not too much. It's like $5. That's kind of reasonable. If you want that stuff, you don't have to get it. So I've gotten back into that game because of that. I like the fact that they're doing these updates. They've introduced new weapons. They've introduced new things on the map. I love that the game is growing like that. It's not stale. The gaming population still seems good. You never have to wait long for a game. The only thing that I have noticed after not playing for a couple months is that everybody just seems way above my skill level, in the sense that I think Steam says I've got 40 hours in the game, something like that, and I'm not very good, and I also play a lot of randos, so this hurts. But let's say I have maybe 50 wins, whereas after I get killed by somebody, we'll show their wins, and it's 400 or 1,000, and you're just Jesus, dude, I don't even I don't stand a chance, let alone somebody who's new to the game. So I don't know if that's if it's just still not big enough of a player base to have enough of a different elo separation, but that's just one thing to keep an eye out for. Yeah, the game is still fun, right? The rounds are quick. I'm really enjoying it. So again, that continues to be one of my favorite games in VR. And then I played some Synth Riders to get back. It's been a while since I played it, but I wanted to hop back in so I can do it justice when I'm talking about it during the review. I also played with Martha, who likes Synth Riders and plays almost every day. And another game I played is Audio Trip, which we'll talk about in the rhythm game reviews section. Which let's segue right into that. So we've got a list of games that we've at least one of us has played. So on that list is Beat Saber, Audio Trip, Synth Riders, Audica, Pistol Whip, Thumper, and Audio Shield. So we'll start with the granddaddy of them all. Not the first rhythm game to come out in VR, but the most popular one by far, and that's Beat Saber. I
Yep.
remember listening. Justin, you used to listen to the VR gaming roundtable, I believe.
Yeah.
And Anthony from that, like a few months before it came out, he's like, "This is gonna be the system seller, the system killer, or whatever you
The
say it,
killer app.
the killer app." Thank you. The
Yeah.
killer is gonna be the killer app, and I'm like, really? Like I've played rhythm games from DDR to Rock Band and Guitar Hero and all that stuff. Like I like them. But he was hot on it, and I just didn't see it. I totally missed it, and sure enough, he was right, and that was one of the most popular VR games. I mean, people when they think about VR, they know Beat Saber, whether they've played it or not, and a lot of people have played it. People who don't even own a headset. So, it's we got to start there, and I'll kick it off by saying that I got it when it came out on day one, and it was fun and amusing, and it's definitely come a long way since. I've not probably played the game in 2 years because, well, I had fun with it. It never hooked into me. It was never the killer app for me for VR. It was fun for a while. It was fun to show other people and to kind of introduce them to VR, and it was a great introduction to VR. That's something they can understand and have fun. But that's all that game I think has ever been for me, especially after I found some other rhythm games. So curious to hear what Justin thinks, and then we're gonna let Brett run wild with it because Brett is I think you've got some like crazy high scores and stuff. But we'll get there. Justin, what do you think about Beat Saber? What's your experience with it?
When it first came out, I liked it a lot, and I was playing it a lot, trying to chase my friends, scores on the leaderboard. So I was going nuts, and I remember, even like reading online, like all the strategy and exactly how to hit the things. What are you just call them? Cubes, boxes,
Cubes.
cubes, and like reading that like you want to hit them as hard as you can, basically. And I ended up like I think I ended up injuring myself playing Beat Saber because like I think I was just swinging too hard and like ended up like maybe hyperextending my elbow or something. And after that, I was like, all right, maybe I'm not gonna play Beat Saber much anymore. And I think I haven't played it like yeah, like you said, 2 years or more. I haven't played Beat Saber. I mean, I liked it. I even put on some of those add-on songs, like all that stuff. But at some point, I think it stopped working for some reason, and then like my entire Beat Saber froze and couldn't work. And I don't know. I never really went back and tried to figure out what happened to that. Um, I don't know.
Yeah, I can relate to that aspect because I definitely was doing the modding stuff, and
Yeah.
after a period of time, like the modding stuff would kind of break the game, and then you got to go in and fiddle with it. And
Yeah.
I think at that point, I'm just like moved on to something else, and I was like, whatever, I'm done
The
with
thing
it.
with the thing with modding on Beat Saber is every update breaks the mods, and you have to wait for all the mods to get updated. So that
Okay.
happens. You're going to go through that cycle of every time they update the game, you got to update your mods.
Hmm.
Um, the one thing though, you can do custom songs without modding. They added
Oh.
that functionality after a while. So it basically became a point where you could download the songs and just drop them all in a folder and play custom songs, and they give you the ability through the menu to just select custom songs. So for a long time, up until recently, I've been running mod free, just using custom songs and nothing else.
Oh. And
Um,
the beat maps are in there too.
yep.
All right, that's cool.
I should point out too. Now you guys had both stopped playing. I feel like the mapping quality has improved drastically over the last couple years. Like if you guys were playing when it was just OST Volume One and
Hmm.
maybe a handful of other tracks like in the extras
Hmm.
before before they brought out like the Imagine Dragons pack, that was about the pack where the mapping quality just took a quantum leap and just became so much better. With there's so much more flow. The maps made a lot more sense. Like they weren't necessarily painful. Things would flow and you could see how you were supposed to kind of choreograph your swings, and the
Okay.
quality definitely improved drastically at that
Hmm.
point.
Ah, nice. Yeah, I think I missed out on that. And also, they've added multiplayer, right? So I
Yep.
wasn't. I haven't played it since they've added multiplayer. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so multiplayer, you basically you can do custom server, So you can invite your friends. It gives you the code, kind of like Population One does. You give everybody a code and they can join your server. It's unfortunately not really that cross-platform. Like Oculus players will not be able to play Steam VR players unless they're playing on Steam, Steam VR through whatever, through Revive or whatever. Um, you can't play like a Quest person can't play on Steam, can't play a Steam VR player. PSVR can't play against anybody because multiplayer isn't implemented on it yet. Um, but playing against people on your own platform, you can basically join an open lobby, choose your skill level, and choose what DLC packs you have, and you'll get paired up with a bunch of random people. And it can be fun, but what I find happens every single time I play is there's always at least one person on the server who can beat all the Camellia levels on every skill level. And they pick the Camellia levels, which are basically one skill level harder than the skill level of every other song in that level. So like if you're playing expert songs and you pick a Camellia level, that's like an expert plus song. Or if it's
What
expert plus, it's even harder than expert plus.
is Camellia a specific artist?
Yeah, Camellia is an artist that they're kind of big in the rhythm game community. I think there was a game called Osu, which is like some weird touchscreen rhythm game. Um, that's where they kind of made their mark. They're usually like 200 BPM super fast songs, and
Mm-hmm.
they are by far the hardest songs in Beat Saber.
So what do you think? Are you still playing Beat Saber, Brett? Or
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
I do. I play it until it pisses me off, which it's the problem with Beat Saber is the tracking has to be so on point, or else you have a really bad experience.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, that's the level you're playing at, though. For the average person, they're probably okay. But I mean, you're going for like top of the scoreboard kind of
yeah, I mean more or
gameplay.
less. I mean I'm not that great. I'm average at best, but it's like I'm playing at least expert level, if not, and lately even expert plus. And if you get phantom misses, you'll fail a level really easily. With because they're just throwing so many notes at you so fast that you can fail very fast if your tracking is not up to par.
Okay, I mean that's a legit problem though. It's not just like being able to pass a level and trying to get the top score. It's like you will fail on a level that you should have passed.
Right.
The track can let you down. Okay. Do you have problems with tracking on because you've got 4 base stations,
Yeah.
right? In your setup.
I still it's an intermittent thing. I can never explain why some nights it works great and why some nights it's terrible. There's
Interesting.
just no rhyme or reason to it. It seems to happen sometimes after updates. Sometimes I don't know.
Okay.
It's super annoying, and usually once I get annoyed, I start playing something else.
Okay. All right. Before we move on from Beat Saber, any final thoughts or anything you want to say about that?
I mean, for me, I still love the game. I think of all of the games, of all the rhythm games out there, it has the highest skill ceiling. I mean, I watched some videos of some guys playing um, these super hardcore levels where there are more than 12 notes per second coming at them,
Oh my God.
and the guys getting full combos. It's just insane. The level of skill that you can be attained in Beat Saber is just absolutely insane.
That's nuts, man.
Are they just like barely moving their arms?
They everything see the thing is with Beat Saber is to be able to move your hands fast enough to hit
Mm-hmm.
these kind of notes. It's mostly wrists,
Okay.
and some of the top guys are using Oculus, which
Mm-hmm.
those controllers are very small and easy to move fast
Yeah.
with just your wrists. And I've watched some of the guys playing, like they show an external camera view, and they're barely moving. I mean, their
Wow.
hands are moving fast, but they're not moving their arms much. It's mostly just their hands, and it's all in the wrists.
You should have seen me trying to play. I had a fan blowing on me at full speed with all my clothes off except for my underwear, and
I
I
do
was
that.
swinging my arms like a psychopath, and that's why I got injured. And meanwhile,
Yeah.
those people are just moving their wrists a little bit.
I have fans set up for my Beat Saber setup for sure.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
that makes me feel better.
All right. let's move on. So Audio Trip is the one I have next on the list. Have any of you guys played that game, or is that just a game I've played?
I've never played it.
I have literally 30 minutes on it.
Okay.
And
Recently, or has it
only
been a while?
it's yeah, I literally tried it again maybe a week ago
Okay.
just to see if I liked it any better. It's I still have all the same complaints I had about it before.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Be good to hear your complaints. So what can I say about Audio Trip? Audio Trip is like Synth Riders.
Hmm.
So that's either a good or bad thing depending on how you feel about Synth Riders. It's the lesser known game of Synth Riders. The Synth Riders is the more successful game.
Hmm.
And it also came out after Synth Riders. But it's like if you played Synth Riders and you jumped into Audio Trip, you're gonna pretty much get it. There's some additional things in there, but you'll get the concept of it. The way that this works compared to Beat Saber, you've got the sabers, you're slashing boxes. Everyone knows that. I didn't even talk about how to play Beat Saber because it's like everybody knows that. But
Right.
Audio Trip and Synth Riders, the commonality that they have this is more of like I would say fluid dancing. I
Yep.
don't know about how fluid, but like that's what it tries to get you to do, and that's what I like about these games. These are the superior games to me over Beat Saber, or the games that I prefer because you're moving your whole body, you're moving around. What the game is trying to get you to do is you kind of have these cubes, blocks, whatever you want to call them in your hands, and you'll see these things coming in front of you, and you position your hand there. So what ends up happening is you're moving your hands around. There's obstacles that you have to kind of like move to the left or right, or kind of maybe you duck a little bit. But especially on the harder levels, it's going to be mapped in a way that you're moving your body, that you're dancing to the music. It's kind of impressive. And what I think the one thing that definitely Audio Trip I think does better than Synth Riders is I think that the things are mapped better. I think there's more thought put into the movement of your hands and what's going on. The downside of it compared to Synth Riders is that it has a much smaller library of music. I don't know how many songs are in there now. I think when it first came out there was 10. I was in
There's
there the other
17 now.
yeah, not even 20. I mean, and that's just you can't have you can't have a game where there's only just 17 kind of tracks that come with it, and you can't get like DLC for it or anything like that. So it's just a weak library in terms of quantity. In quality, though, it has like more names you'll recognize in Synth Riders. Like there's like a Lady Gaga track, there's a Tiesto track on there, right? There's Deadmau5 tracks. So I think their model is going for maybe more known music, which could be a strength. And I think when it came out, I think I was reading in kind of the write up on the game that they have people who are dancers actually really choreograph these things, right? So again, that makes sense to me because when you're playing this, it does feel like for the most part it's mapped better than Synth Riders. Not that Synth Riders is bad, but I feel like the time that was put into it, invested into it, will just have you making moves that make a lot more sense and feel pretty good. Style wise, even in like the maybe not the colors so much, but in the scenery and the setup, there is very much the same as Synth Riders. So I think it's a good game. I think if you're devouring rhythm games and you like Synth Riders, then grab Audio Trip, and if you like Audio Trip, grab Synth Riders. But for me, I'm kind of lumping these games up together now because they're very similar. For me, Synth Riders is if you had to pick one, go with Synth Riders because there's more content in Synth Riders. There's multiplayer in Synth Riders, which Brett mentioned playing. I'm sure you can talk about it a little bit.
Hmm.
There's just more options, more more music in Synth Riders. Synth Riders has custom music, as Brett was saying. I don't know if Audio Trip does. I can't
It,
remember.
it it technically does, um, but I don't. At least I have not been able to find a repository of such custom tracks anywhere. Where
Okay.
SynthWriters has a whole website and an app devoted to being able to download basically the entire library in one shot and having it stay up to date.
Yeah. So what's your thought on Audio Trip?
So Audio Trip to me is like the Wish version of SynthWriters. Um, I don't know. I played a lot of SynthWriters before I tried Audio Trip. I like I like both styles. Both games are based. They play very similarly. I like the flow, the chill vibe that you get with both of them. Um, Synth Riders has a really nice custom mapping option, like where you can basically record your movements and make maps that way. That is something that Synth Riders does not have. I wish it did.
Oh, Audio
Um,
Trip has the custom mapping.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So
nice.
you
Okay.
can record. You can basically record your movements and hit the triggers where you want the stuff to go.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So I mean, it's got kind of a level builder built into it, which is nice. Um, but for the things I don't like, there's basically this. Um, with Synth Riders, you've got basically these orbs. They're just the different colors, and that's it. You know, you've got your left hand orb, your right hand orb, your one hand orb, or your both hands orbs, and that's basically all there are. With Audio Trip, you've got your left hand, your right hand, then you got these directional ones, and then you've got these drum ones that you hit. My problem with with Audio Trip is that I find the maps kind of hard to read. Like you got to look ahead on all of these games. Everything's coming at you from a distance, so the farther you look ahead, the more prepared you are to do the movements to complete the level in the best way possible. Audio Trip, those directional cues, I have the hardest time telling what the hell direction they're trying to make me go until they're like right on top of me. So it's like that one thing just bugs me so much that I really don't play it as a result.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're saying about directional cues. Like, I understand like the drum things that you hit, and like there's a
Yeah.
thing that you kind of like. I don't know how to describe the movement. Like most of the time, you're just kind of positioning your hands where it wants you to go, and then
Hmm.
some of the drum things, it's like it wants you to kind of just drum down with your hand, like
Right.
extend your
Which is
arm or your wrist like out to the side. Which again, I think I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot to mention that has like that extra layer over Synth Riders, which I think lends to the fact that you're moving to the music, or you're dancing to it in a more realistic way than Synth Riders, which is a little more basic. But I'm not sure, what are you talking about with the directional cues?
so they have these like these little blocks that they have like what looks like a kind of like a funnel coming out of them,
Yeah.
and it's I just kind of find it hard to
Okay.
tell what they're exactly trying to ask me to do.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have that trouble. I mean, I played for a little while last night and I was passing things and I seem to be doing it without any trouble pretty intuitively. Maybe I'm missing something though. Maybe I was messing it up and not realizing I was messing it up, but I didn't fail or I didn't notice I was messing it up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it might also depend on the level you're playing at too. I don't remember what skill level I was playing at. I probably started out fairly high because I'd already had enough practice in Synth Riders that I was like, oh, this should be pretty easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just wasn't crazy about that whole mechanic of it.
Okay. Okay. Any other thoughts or any other thoughts on Audio Trip?
I mean, right now the big problem is lack of content. Like I said, 17 songs is all that's in there right now.
Yeah.
Um, I can't find any repository of custom tracks anywhere. It also doesn't have multiplayer.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
those are kind of what's going against it.
Yeah, it's kind of getting beat down. It gets good reviews. I was looking at the Quest reviews, and it's pretty much like a 5-star game. I mean, it's like 4.5, 5. So it's getting love, and it just got an update. I think last month with 3 new tracks. They call it like the biggest content update ever, and it's like 3 tracks. It's like, well, dude, you got to listen. I know that Beat Saber coasted by with like 10 tracks for a long time, but
Right.
it's you've got a lot of competition out there. So I'm rooting for Audio Trip because I like it. Maybe they got to get some lesser known names that are good tracks that work just to start beefing it up a little bit so there's more variety. Yeah, I think it's good. But again, I would agree with you that if I had to recommend one to people, it would go with Synth Riders. But if you can spring for it, both are a good option. Justin, have you played Synth Riders at all?
No, I haven't.
Okay, all right,
I've heard a lot about it.
okay. So Brett, I was talking about Synth Riders a little bit, and I was focusing on Audio Trip. So why don't you talk a little bit about your kind of thoughts and feelings on Synth Riders?
Synth Riders is a game I wasn't really that sure about back when I first picked it up. I was like, oh, this seems kind of like a Beat Saber light. It seemed really kind of watered down. I was like, it didn't seem like there was the skill ceiling like you get in Beat Saber. But then I tried the harder levels, and I was like, oh, okay, this is not necessarily as easy as I thought it was. Um, I love the music in Synth Riders. The initial packs that it came with three very solid song packs that I love a lot of the music in it. And then the DLC packs that have come out afterwards are even better. And the mapping has
Yeah.
only, like Beat Saber, the mapping has gotten better as time has gone on.
Yeah.
Um,
Agreed.
the later DLC packs, especially,
Yep.
the mapping is amazing. I really like it. Um, I like the environments that they came up with. It's got that 80s um, cyberpunkish kind of feel to it. Um, and then, of course, there's that Muse alternate reality experience, which is unbelievable. They did that custom map for it with the full experience. It's something that you pretty much. It's one of those things that anybody I want to show VR, I will show them that. I will put them in that level and show them that because it's pretty mind blowing when you
Oh
try
man,
it.
I slept on that because I'm not like I don't have anything against music. I'm just it doesn't do anything for me. So maybe I need to grab it then.
Yeah, I mean it's just basically it's part of the DLC pack. It's part of the Synthwave Volume 2 pack. Muse put a couple songs on there, and then there's a couple other artists have a couple good
Oh,
songs.
okay, I've got that then. Yeah, because the Midnight has a song on there, Days of Thunder, and I love the Midnight.
Yeah,
I saw
I
they
love
came
that
to
pack.
Buffalo a year and a half ago too. We saw them.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, so it's in that pack. I just got to play a
yep.
Muse track.
Play the its algorithm is the specific track that they made this custom visualization for.
Oh, cool. Okay. All right.
It's yeah, you gotta try that. You'll be blown away by it. I'm telling you.
Do they just have when I went in there, it's been almost a year since I played the game, and so when I was in there last night and today, do they only have that cityscape level or map now? They used to have other
Mm-mm.
maps. Oh, they
No,
have a lot. Okay.
there's about seven or eight,
Okay.
and you can choose like there's an when you pick the level, there's when you pick the song, there's an option to choose what the visual is, and there's like I think there's like seven. There might even be more than that.
Yeah,
Different
I was trying to do that.
visualization
It was
options.
just giving me the city option or random, and it was just I don't know what was happening, but who knows?
Maybe I'd scroll the other direction or something.
Something weird. All right. Yeah.
Um, the other great thing, of course, about Synth Riders is behind Beat Saber, it's probably got the most community support. Um, there are more than 800 custom tracks now for Synth Riders, and the quality of those tracks, like a lot of the people who are doing maps, are really good at it. Like I found some amazing songs and mapped really well.
Nice. Yeah, that's always a crapshoot with
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, and then you start getting these tracks that just don't work, and it kind of junks up the game. At least
Hmm.
in my book sometimes, so I tend to avoid it. But I might have to check it out. There's a lot of there's a lot of songs on Synth Riders to begin with, which is good, and like I
Yep.
said, the DLC. So that's
So you
why
got
it's just the winner over Audio Trip just on that alone. I mean, you got to go with the one that has a lot and it's similar enough.
it's got more content included other than Beat Saber. It's got the most. You got 35 songs included out of the box, and then there's 33 DLC songs,
Yeah.
and then you got 800 customs available.
Yep, and it's also crossplay. So Martha's
Cross
got a Quest 2.
100% crossplay too.
Yep,
So you can
yep,
play across platforms too, not just PC versus you know PC.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And how many people can play a multiplayer game at the same time? So
I've
eight?
seen I think eight.
Yeah. And I saw they had another update since I've played multiplayer. Like there's power ups or like you can attack the other
Yeah,
player or something.
yeah, it's funny. Most of the serious servers, and it's random obviously which ones you choose, but most of the people turn them off. But I've played on a couple servers with them turned on, and they're pretty funny. Like, 'cause some of them will they'll do like the rainbow orbs, so you have only a very little time to tell what color it is before it changes to that rainbow pulsing thing. It makes it a lot harder, but you can collect the power ups and deploy them on all your opponents whenever you want.
Nice. I like that
Um,
they're still innovating on that game, and the
yeah,
multiplayer is huge.
yeah, and it's a lot of fun. People have, I mean, usually when I jump on there, people are just having a blast with it. And some of this, especially when you get into the customs and you get these weird songs, like we play this one. Drunken Dwarves or something like that. I forgot what it was. It was the weirdest, like the speed metal Drunken Dwarves song, and everybody was just dying. It was great.
Yeah, one thing I want to ask you about that game, when you're in a multiplayer game, and does everybody have to play in the same skill, the same difficulty of the song, or can you do custom difficulties? How does that work?
The person who is running the server has control over what skill level is chosen. And obviously, since there's, unlike Beat Saber, you can actually talk to each other in the lobby and even during the songs, really, which is kind of annoying. But um, you can talk to each other in the lobby and determine what level you want to play. Most of the servers I've played on will also leave no fail on all the time when
Yeah,
you're
that's
playing
smart.
multiplayer to make it fair to everybody, so that they're not um, out of luck when they fail out, which is something I didn't even mention this in Beat Saber with the multiplayer. They updated the no fail option so that you can just leave it on all the time now, and it won't affect your score until you actually fail. So if you went through it with no fail on, you went through a song and you didn't actually fail it, you'd get the same score you would have gotten had you had no fail turned off.
I see.
So that's
Okay.
kind of a cool option, and they do that for multiplayer too. So now when the person does choose the Camellia song and you fail out after a minute, at least you can finish the song, which wasn't that way a couple months ago.
Yeah. So it's safe to say Brett and I are both fans of Synth Riders.
Yeah.
That's it's a great game, and I prefer. I have a lot more. Let's say it this way: I have a lot more fun with Synth Riders than Beat Saber. I don't know if I'll ever play Beat Saber again, but Synth Riders is a game that I'm happy to come back to time and time again in my library, and that's my go-to kind of rhythm game. Okay, let's move to Audica. I've played Audica. I played it when it first came out. I haven't touched it since. Justin, have you played Audica?
Yeah, I've played it a little bit.
Okay. Did you play it when it first came out too, or?
Yeah, when it first came out.
All right. Why don't you? I'll rest my voice for a second. Why don't you talk to us about Audica and how that works?
Okay, from what I remember, well, you have a pistol in each hand, and I think they're orange and blue, maybe, sort of like portal colors, and you shoot at them, and I think they have to match the color of your gun. Is that what it is? And then there's
Yep.
also like these chain ones that come out where you kind of have to like move your guns in sort of the shape of the chain, and then sometimes some like black, orbs will come at you, and you have to hit them away by actually swinging your arms. And all I remember is I wasn't very good at it, so I think that's why I didn't play it that much. But I know tons of people in some VR forums that I used to go to a lot were big into it. So I know it's popular.
Yeah, it didn't. Again. I'll let Brett take it away because he likes this game and he's more into it than I am. Um, I played it when it came out and I tried to get into it and I didn't. At first, I didn't get into it, and then I started warming up to it, but it never just kind of crossed that line where I was sold on the game, and I just kind of gave up on it. It was more frustrating than fun. It's a game also that I don't know if they've remedied this since, but when it first came out, you kind of have to hold your arms out for the guns, and like after a while, this was a common complaint. Like people's arms just got sore. Like it wasn't a fun position to be in. Unlike games like Audio Trip and Synth Riders, where you're kind of moving around, dancing around, you're just stationary shooting your gun. And there are some things where you kind of um, hammer down or drum down a couple times, but that's few and far in between, and mostly your hands are out shooting. And again, that's there's some like Pistol Whip, you have guns, but in Pistol Whip you're really moving a lot, you're bending your body a lot. This is probably one of the most stationary games
Yeah.
um, on the whole list. I should also mention that this game is made by Harmonix, so they are the rhythm game pioneers, if you will. They're made their mark with what Guitar Hero, Rock Band, all that good stuff, right?
Hmm.
So we expected big things from them, and Audica gets good reviews, but I gave up on it after several hours of play. It just didn't do it for me. I just there were better, more fun games. But I'm glad, Brett, I'm glad you're with us because you said you just grabbed this. You're the rhythm game guru of the bunch. What are we missing from this, or what do you like about it?
So first of all, On this list, this is the first game that's actually truly a rhythm game. Because the other games, Beat Saber is not rhythm. It's basically accuracy. Audio Trip and Synth Riders also really accuracy, have nothing to do with rhythm. They're just played to music. Um, Audica is 100% a rhythm game. It's 100% you have to have good timing and rhythm. And it's interesting because the complexity of the rhythms in Audica, from what I've seen, are quite a bit more complex than anything you get in, for example, Pistol Whip, um, where it's like not everything is right on the beat. It can be, moved, it can be syncopated and stuff like that. So an understanding of music helps for an Audica player, an understanding of how the beat works. Um, I find it challenging because of that, because sometimes it doesn't quite work the way you're expecting. So it'll have you doing something, a whole bunch of shots on the beat, and all of a sudden it throws this syncopated part in there, and you're like, oh crap, I didn't know it was going to do that. It's kind of hard to read at first. There's definitely a steeper learning curve with Audica, I think, than any of the other games as a result of that. Um, it is definitely a stationary game. Like, I didn't have to turn my fans on. I didn't work up a sweat. I left my hoodie on the whole time, which that never happens with any of the other games. And I had the hoodie on and my haptic vest, and I still wasn't sweating with Audica. Um, but I mean, it's fun once you figure out how the notes spawn and how the different things work. Um, there's definitely a very, very high skill ceiling on it from what I've seen. I've tried a couple advanced levels and failed miserably at them, and that isn't even the highest level. I tried an expert just to see what would happen. Of course, I failed in like the first 15 seconds, but I don't know. I'm going to stick with it. I like it so far. I've only got like 3.5 hours into it, but I'm having fun with it.
Nice. Yeah, I did get the sense, and I've got to imagine that why a good number of people like this game is because it does have a high skill ceiling. I didn't make that distinction between the fact that is it a true rhythm game versus accuracy game. So thank you for that. I mean, the nice thing I guess about Audica is it stands on its own, right? There's nothing really like it. It does that. How's the library of music in the game?
So, okay, so far there are 33 songs included and 33 DLC, but Audica does have a huge community support. There are actually over 800 custom tracks available for Audica. So it's got pretty much the same level of community support that Synth Riders has.
Nice. I'm looking at it now. Are they still updating the game? Is it getting regular updates and being worked on, as far as
Yep,
you can know?
as far as
Nice.
I can tell, yep, yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's sitting at very positive. There's 438 reviews. So nothing like Beat Saber or anything like that. But that's good. I mean, it's not my cup of tea. Now, does your arms hurt at all?
No,
Do you have
see,
that issue?
I 100% shoot from the hip. So
Okay.
I got my elbows almost locked on my hips when I play,
Gotcha.
and honestly, I was not tired even in the slightest. I think I played almost the full 33 included songs like without
Okay.
a break when I first got the game. So I mean, it's like I can't even play more than one song in a row on Beat Saber most of the time.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the DLC for this game. So they got Billie Eilish, Imagine Dragons, Post Malone, so Ariana Grande. So they've got artists that people know, right?
Yeah,
Versus
a lot of commercially successful stuff included. Um,
which doesn't do it for me. So
yeah, me
they
too.
like,
I'm the same way.
yeah,
I'm like I
yeah,
avoid the commercially known stuff usually.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so it's good to make that distinction as well. Like with synth writers, there's a lot of like stuff that's like there's like no commercially known stuff, which is kind of
Oh, but it's
great.
so good though.
It's so good. Yeah, this is again. So good to know going into that because the music is definitely important for that too. I mean, that's a major component, obviously, when we're talking about these type of games. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Thanks for that. I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you picked it up so you can offer that perspective on it. I don't want to spend too much time on Pistol Whip other than just saying that we reviewed the game before. All three of us have the game and all three of us like the game. Is that safe to
Hmm.
say?
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, I just don't really consider it that much of a rhythm game. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on how you're playing it. I mean,
I'm
you
playing
got
it
to
wrong.
you might be playing. It might be the problem because
Yeah.
the thing with Pistol Whip is I can contrast it to Audica because they're both shooting true rhythm games. Um, Pistol Whip, the scoring is 100% dependent on your ability to hit the beat and your accuracy. Audica is exactly the same way. The thing with Pistol Whip is you're 100% free to choose where in the beat you make that shot. Um, it will, from what I've seen, register right down to 16th notes um,
Hmm.
on the beat and still register that as on the beat. Whereas Audica, there's only one right answer to every shot. That's it. It's like rigid. It's very rigid. Every shot has to be made at this exact time. Where Pistol Whip gives you a lot more freedom. You're kind of like a drummer, and you can kind of do your own drum fills on the guys. And when you do that, if you kind of treat it that way,
Hmm.
that's when your scores go up.
Maybe that's easier to do in your house with all your subs everywhere.
Well, here's the thing with Pistol Whip. They have a haptic feedback built in,
Hmm.
and you can turn that up on your controller so the controller will pulse to the main
Mm.
beat, and you will feel it in your hand and know that
Mm.
that's the beat. So that will get you at least on the 4 beat, and
Okay.
then you can obviously go faster when you need to.
Damn, dude, I never knew that. That's cool. Nice. Okay.
And then obviously the other big thing with Pistol Whip is they just added that campaign, and that campaign is really cool,
Oh yeah.
It
especially with the
is.
boss fight and everything else.
Yeah, that is awesome.
We need more of that. I think that campaign, which is amazing that it was free.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's a good way to kind of wet people's whistles and show what they what could come, and then just start releasing like larger DLCs or
Yeah,
like chapters or seasons or something like that of maybe a longer story. I would
the game
definitely pay money for that.
the game desperately needs some DLC and some more levels at a more frequent basis. That's really the only thing holding it back, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Instant purchase for me with DLC and more levels for sure. Okay, Thumper. I've actually maybe played this game for about 30 minutes. Justin, you're probably better equipped to talk about it than I don't know. Brett, have you played this?
I have not.
Okay, it's all you, Justin.
Okay, Thumper was a regular flat game at first, and then in 2016 they came out with VR support, and I got it then. I don't know. I don't remember if I got it on sale, but I think I paid like 15 or 16 bucks. And then I got to the second level, and I just kept dying, and I couldn't figure out why, and I just was kind of getting pissed off and frustrated with it, and I refunded it, and then it was on sale again recently for 5 bucks, and I said, well, let me try that again. And then because we did this episode, I was like, well, shit, Thumper's a rhythm game. Let me try that. And I tried it again, and then now I like the game. I am using a different headset. I'm using an Index, whereas before it was a Vive. But I figured out the controls, and I realized what I was doing wrong before. I was, like trying to press the buttons like exactly at the right time, like when I had to do something like say a turn. Whereas you don't, I realized you don't have to do that. You can actually do it ahead of time, and you'll get through. So this is a game where you're on a track the whole time. It's almost like you're on like a Hot Wheels track, and there's this little metallic beetle thing that's basically, it's sort of like a car, but it's not really a car. And you're right behind it, and you're just flying through this track and going through tunnels. And they're going to be, you have to press it's a gamepad game. So you could just sit in one spot and play this game. You're not going to have to flail your arms or anything. You're not going to get sweaty. You'll press A at the right time. You press the analog stick left or right along with A, like to do turns. Because there's going to be, sometimes it's going to be like you got to do like a right turn, left turn, right turn, left turn, right turn, right back and forth. And then there's all these different mechanics in the game where you're going to have to jump at certain times and hold the button down at the right time. And it gets really frantic and fun. Like before, I wasn't having fun because, like I said, I couldn't figure out the controls. But this time, I got to level 5 playing last night, and I had a lot of fun. Like I want to play it more. I think it's 8 or 9 levels, and each level is really long. And there's a boss fight at the end of each level, and like as you progress, the boss fights get to the point where you have to be perfect. Like you have to not screw up any of the, I don't know what you'd call them, the notes or whatever you want to call them. And I think they seem like they're on, on beat. I'm not good with music and figuring all that stuff out, but it felt good to me. So I'm guessing, Nick, that we're having issues with the controls.
No,
No.
I remember I played this game. So I had it on the Oculus Go, and it's like
Oh.
one of those games when I was like on an airplane. I downloaded it for like the plane ride, right? The
Mm-hmm.
flight, and I had fun with it. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was cool. It was kind of just like I need to kill some time type of game. I had fun, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember having trouble with the controls.
Okay.
It was just like it was okay.
That's just me then.
I doesn't mean I didn't. I just don't
Yeah.
remember. It's been a
Yeah.
couple of years.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
and it could get repetitive. I could see, a lot of people probably being like, I've had enough.
yeah, it's not. I mean, for $5 or whatever you got it for, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah.
And then Audio Shield. Audio Shield, I've not played. Have you guys played that?
Yeah,
I
I
have.
got that at launch.
Okay, perfect. You can take it away.
Like like Vive launch. Brett probably got it at Vive launch too. Um,
Actually, I slept on it for a very long time and only picked it up about a year ago.
oh, okay. So it was one of the launch games, and there weren't many options back then, so I got it, and people were raving about it, and I just didn't get it. You have a orange and a blue shield and you just like it was like globs of paint or are flying
Like
at you, and you just
bubbles.
hold bubbles, and you just hold your shields up and block them, and that's but they had I think they had YouTube support.
They used
Orig-
to.
oh, they used to, but I'm sure that's a legal issue there, and you could put in like any song you wanted, so that's I think why people really liked it.
Hmm.
But I'm not sure how that worked. Like, how did the maps get done?
So everything in that game is 100% kind of AI driven.
Hmm.
The map is generated when you load the song.
Okay.
I think it's the same every time. If you play the same song multiple times, it looks like it gives you the same map. But the one thing Audio Shield has going for it is unlimited library. It's only limited by what you have because you can basically load any song in it and it will generate a
Okay.
map and you can play it.
Oh, so
Um,
you just have to have the MP3.
yep.
Oh, okay.
Or whatever format. I think it does other formats too, but yeah, as long as you have it in some kind of audio format, it'll play it and
Oh,
generate
okay.
a level for it. And obviously, the intensity of your experience can vary greatly depending on what kind of song you've chosen.
Hmm. So what if you put
Um,
in some like crazy hard rock?
Absolutely, will have a nutty experience.
Huh. Maybe
Yeah,
I
if
should
you
have
put in
tried
like
that.
you put in like Cannibal Corpse or something like that, it's gonna be crazy.
Hmm. Okay. Well, now I'm interested in the game again.
Yeah, like I said, I slept on that one for a really long time because I saw people play it back before I had VR, and I was like, that looks kind of silly. I don't think I really want to play that. And then after I'd been playing other rhythm games, I'm like, and after I discovered I actually liked rhythm games because I never played a rhythm game before Beat Saber, never had any interest, and I still really don't have any interest in playing non-VR rhythm games.
Hmm.
Um, but I gave it a shot, and I was like, let me see what it's like. And actually, I found it kind of fun.
Hmm.
All right.
There's I'm looking at Steam, and I remember hearing about this game. There's a game called Ragnarok, where it's a VR rhythm game. It has an overwhelmingly positive 97% from 567 reviews. This came out December 17th, 2020, and it already has 567 reviews
Hmm.
in a 97, and it has Celtic rock and Viking power metal. So one thing about these games, none of them they don't really have much rock. So this I kind of want to try this game, but I think it's $20, a little expensive. But I just
Yeah.
wanted to mention that really fast.
No, thanks for bringing that up. I noticed that game too, and I forgot
Yeah.
about it. I think I wrote to the dev to see if I can get a key because I saw the $20. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was so early on when it came out. There's an online PvP. too to it,
Oh, that's cool.
which looks interesting. I think you race like your Viking boats.
Ah,
Yeah, overwhelmingly positive. All right, maybe we'll have to try that and
yeah.
do a review next month or something like that. We'll see. All right, I just added it to my list. All right, sweet. Well, that is the rhythm review or rhythm game roundup, whatever you want to call it. Thanks, guys. I mean, thanks, Brett, for coming on and helping to fill
Yeah.
this in. Again, Justin and I are not huge rhythm game guys. I mean, I've played a bunch and he's played a bunch, but it's nice to have somebody who really enjoys it to, kind of give the justice that they deserve. We're just going to conclude by going over some news. Justin, I'm guessing you're the one who threw these news items in. I appreciate that. I did a scan after I saw what you threw in there for the notes, and I didn't see anything worthwhile to add there. So why don't you take it away and lead the news section?
Okay, probably the biggest news is that Sony announced that PSVR 2 is coming, and they said it's not 2021. It seems like they're saying it's coming in 2022, and it's gonna work with PS5 with a cord, and it's gonna use the PS5's DualSense controller tech. And their quote is, "It enhances everything from resolution and field of view to tracking and input." And I think they're sending out dev kits soon, or you would have thought they would have already done that, but it sounded like pretty soon. And that's about all they said. But prior to that, there was no confirmation that they were even doing a PSVR 2. So some people are excited about that, but it could be late 2022 for all we know. So, that'll be a while. You guys care about that at all?
I mean, I'm done with I say done, but I don't see myself ever going back to console gaming.
Mm-hmm.
I've got this beast of a PC, and it's sort of like it's either going to be if I get anything else, it'd be like a Quest 2 or something like that. But I don't see a need for that. So yeah, that's cool. I mean, I really applaud the fact that Sony is continuing to push with VR, because I know that they put out a lot of games that people liked. They had a good catalog of PSVR games, so I'm glad they're continuing that. Again, I don't know what the hell Xbox is doing at this point, why they haven't added theirs, but kudos to them. I hope it does well, and I hope it continues getting more people into VR.
Yeah, all it will take is some exclusives like Resident Evil 8 or something, and I'm gonna buy it for sure.
Do you have a PS5?
No, I don't have that, but that's why
Okay.
I didn't even use my PS4 until PSVR came out. But I'll get a PS5 if they just say Resident Evil 8, I'm gonna buy a PS5 and a PSVR 2.
All right.
Definitely.
There you go. There's probably a good chance of that.
Yeah. So then Oculus has announced that they're coming out with 120 hertz support for Quest 2, but John Carmack said it'll be very few existing titles, and that developers are going to have to probably bake that into the game from the beginning. So that probably means they're going to have to dumb down the graphics if it's a standalone game. But you could use Oculus Link and probably do 120 hertz, probably without any issue if you're using that. So that's some news. Then, so there's this Andrew Bosworth AMA where somebody asked him, "Are you guys working on a Quest Pro?" And the quote is, "Quest Pro, huh? Interesting." And then he winked. So now everyone thinks there's a Quest Pro or Quest 2 Pro coming. And I think that's all that we know about it, really, just that little wink and everything. But there's videos all over YouTube now about people speculating about what's coming, and should we even bother with buying a Quest 2 now? Just on that.
Yeah, it just confuses people when I think you do something like that, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. They cranked out Quest 2 after a year. I don't know. I don't know what they have in store. It's interesting. I mean, you can always, look, you could just buy a Quest 2 and sell it, right? Like if something else comes out, like you're not gonna really get hurt on it, especially when the thing is $299. It's like something you don't want to stress over.
You'll make a profit probably.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
That's lesson learned. Whenever like the next Quest comes out, buy it immediately, and then just hold on and sell it or something. I don't know.
Exactly.
Seems to be working out.
Yeah. And
right.
Speaking of Quest, the Climb 2 is coming out March 4th. I like the Climb. The original was a Rift exclusive. This is not going to come to the Rift store for like PC, unfortunately. So that kind of pisses me off.
Me too. Agreed.
Yeah.
I saw that. That sucks.
Yeah.
I like the Quest. I like the Quest one. Sorry, I like the Climb one.
Yeah.
It was a well done game, and I like Crytek. I spent so much time playing their Hunt Showdown. So what a bummer.
Yeah. And
We're
so
starting to see that problem, right, Justin?
Definitely.
Where the PC, they're just moving away from PC. Like, why can't this come out for PC as well? Why can't we see this on Steam after a while? It's too bad.
Yeah, maybe after a while. I mean, the Climb never made it to Steam, so I don't know. I don't know what
Yeah.
their deal is with Crytek.
It's
so
going to
they
be
have
dumbed down no matter what, though. That's the thing.
Yeah. So they have the Climb 2, Jurassic World Aftermath, and then Myst are Quest exclusives. I can't remember any other ones there are. But Myst is coming to PC. It's on the Steam store. That Jurassic World game's probably going to stay an exclusive. So that's about it for the news that I thought was worth mentioning.
Yeah, it's kind of a light month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Still no amazing, like, this game is coming out for PC. Let's all get hyped. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. Hopefully something happens.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that does it for this episode 20 of the VR Gaming Podcast. Again, special thanks to Brett for coming on and helping to fill in the discussion on rhythm games. We'll catch everybody next month. Take care.
Thanks.